evening. We will begin with the pledge. So I ask everyone to please stand. I pledge allegiance to
the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to the Long Beach City Council Member Candidate Forum. This event has been co-sponsored by the on.
Yes.
You're now.
Can you hear me now?
Time it goes. Oh, the knob that I have. How's that? I'll try to be louder too. Maybe that combination will do it. Okay. Right. So welcome to the Long Beach City Council Member Candidate Forum. This event is being co-sponsored by the Westholme Central Neighbors, also known as the Westholme and Walks Civic Association, and the Long Beach Public Library. My name is Ann Leiter. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Central Nassau. I will be the moderator for this event. Joanne Flora will vet the questions for the audience. Tom Leiter will be the timekeeper. We are all members of the League of Women Voters who live outside of the city of Long Beach. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We neither endorse nor oppose any candidate or political party. The League encourages informed and active participation in government. This evening is your opportunity to listen to all the candidates who are on the ballot in November to hear their views on the issue. It is a night of information and education, but it is your active participation as voters at the polls that will complete the process. I would like to take a moment to explain the procedures for this evening that are agreed to by all of the candidates. This event is not a debate, it is a forum. Candidates will each be presented with the same questions and given equal time to respond. In accordance with the league policy, candidates, their staff, and audience are not permitted to record the forum in audio or video, including cell phone recordings. This measure is taken to ensure that information is not manipulated to create false or misleading impressions or otherwise be edited for campaign purposes. Okay? In addition, no electronic devices, including smartphones, Apple Watches, tablets, or any other device that can send or receive messages are permitted to be used by the candidates during the forum. The forum is being live streamed via YouTube. A recording will be available on the Long Beach Library YouTube channel. Okay. Candidates will initially speak in alphabetical order. I will rotate the order of who is first to answer the question. Index cards have been distributed and the audience has written down their questions. The index cards have been collected and are being vetted by a league member to ensure that they are legible, nonpartisan, not repetitive, and are confined to the issues of the campaign. Please understand that we are limited in time and not able to pose all questions submitted. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for an opening statement, and they can be read. And after that, candidates who have made the opening statement will be, after each candidate has made an opening statement, I will read the questions submitted by the community. Each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes to answer a question. The timekeeper will hold up the candidate's sign to the candidate to indicate when 30 seconds remain, and again when the time is up. You will hear a tone to indicate the end of the allotted time. When the time is up, the speaker will be allowed to finish their sentence. Candidates who ignore the time signals may have their speaking time reduced, including closing statements. We appreciate the candidates being fair to the others as well as the audience and respect the time allocation. Candidates will have 1.5 minutes for a closing statement, and we will do that in reverse order. And again, they're able to read that. They're not allowed to use props or charts or visuals, and no campaign literature can be used at this time. The event will be 90 minutes in length, and if there are many questions, as there are candidates, we want to try and cover as much of the issues by the candidate as possible. Although members of the audience may feel strongly about statements which are made, it is requested that they not intrude on the candidate's time with applause or any other distracting audible reaction. In the interest of nonpartisanship, We ask that you hold your applause until the end of the program. Your greatest support will be your vote on Election Day, November 4th. It's not always easy to be part of the forum, and we appreciate the candidates' participation as well as the audience respect and cooperation. At this time, we ask that all cell phones please be silent as a matter of courtesy. Hang on. Well, last candidate lens form I was in, someone's went off, and that wasn't very comfortable. All right, I'd like to introduce the candidates we have this evening. Candidates for Long Beach City Council in alphabetical order are Peggy Butt, George Ennis, Tracy Johnson, Roy Lester, Lillian Mosley, and Michael Reinhardt. Good luck to all the candidates. We will begin with opening statements. Peggy, please.
I don't need the mic. I can talk pretty loud. Everybody can hear me? Yes? Hi. Okay. You can hear me? Okay, hello. My name is Peggy Butts. I do apologize for reading some because I'm trying to stick with the time period. Born and raised here in Long Beach. I'm a nursery. My background is in the healthcare profession. I am a licensed X-ray technologist, licensed mammographer, and certified CT tech. After working several places, I ended up coming back home to work at the Long Beach Medical Center. In 2006, I went back to school, got my license as a massage therapist, and opened my own business in 2011, right here in Long Beach, Body and Soul Massage. So I've been doing that for 14 years, and due to the unfortunate, closure of the hospital because of Superstorm Sandy, which will be 13 days from today, 13 years that the hospital has been closed. I have been in business now for 14 years, and I am a proud business owner, happy to be here, happy to continue with taking care of now my clients, no longer just patients. So with that being said, I am a mother who has put emphasis on, with my children, raising them to be entrepreneurs as well. I believe in working hard, the handshake, the smile, the hard work, and being able to put yourself forward. And I'm hoping to encourage others as well to come out of their shell, to be able to find their voices, to work together as a community, so that way we can build a strong community together. And so I'm hoping that we can make this a sustainable area where we are not only raised here, but we can live here and we can continue to thrive here into our senior years.
Okay, thank you. Opening statement, please, George. Yes, thank you.
Can everybody hear me, or do I need the microphone? I also, I've been told I have a rather booming voice. Are we okay back there? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, my name is George Ennis. First of all, thank everybody for having me here. And I'm running for Long Beach City Council for one very simple reason. I'm running because I absolutely love Long Beach. I believe in the city, and I think I'm the person most qualified and most suited to get onto the city council. I mean, I love the scenery, the vibe, but most of all, I love the people of this city. I moved here 22 years ago with my wife Maureen, my 4 kids, and ever since then, the people of this town have been nothing but good to me. And I feel right now that I'm getting close to retirement. It's my time to get back to the community and to advocate for the citizens who have advocated so well for me over the years. And I just want to keep Long Beach moving forward and in the right direction. However, I do realize that things need to be done, issues need to be addressed, and ideas need to be implemented. Since I've been here 22 years ago, I've been involved with so many organizations and charities, and I'm a person that is fully vested in this community. I work with the Waterfront Warriors, by the way, real quick. They have a 4 o'clock at the end, raise band and shatter, it's a fundraiser, get there if you can. I'm with the Michelle O'Neill Foundation. I founded and organized a film festival in the West End in 2007 called The Jet. The proceeds of that went to the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation. Most currently, I'm the chairman for the last 2 years of the Irish Day Parade and Festival, and by all accounts, it's been the most successful it's ever been in years, including having the most participants ever come to our great city, which of course means more revenue for. Hold on, I just spoke with my life. Don't quit. Which means more revenue for the city and for our businesses. These events not only highlight my commitment to the community, but they also showcase my skills in organization, leadership, and marketing. Since graduating college, I was a high school teacher and coach, and right now I manage a $50 million territory with FedEx. My greatest assets, however, are what I learned from my parents as a child, and that is hard work, dedication, perseverance, and I'm out of time.
Thank you, George.
But I think this, am I done? I'll take it. Can I add something to the end?
We have a closing statement.
I'll add the rest of
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Tracy. Thank you. Tracy, your opening statement, please.
I am gonna use the microphone.
Thank you.
I don't have the booming voice. Good evening, everyone. I would love to thank the League of Women Voters, the Westholme Civic Association, as well as the Westholme Civic Association, my fellow candidates, and also the library. My name is Tracy Hayes Johnson. I'm truly honored to be running for Long Beach City Council on the Republican line. I'm a fourth generation resident. My family has been here for well over 100 years, and we proudly call this city our home. The challenges we face today are familiar ones, but also are the values that have always guided us: hard work, community, and pride in our hometown. My husband and I have raised 3 children here, and I've owned a local business for the last 20 years. Through that business, we have employed hundreds of local residents, many of whom have become more like family. And we have supported countless local charities and fundraisers, including, but not limited to, the Michael Diamond Foundation, the Polar Bears, Wounded Warriors, and Michelle O'Neill. Giving back to the community has never been an afterthought for us. It's a way of life. My early career began as a school guidance counselor, where I learned the importance of listening, empathy, and helping others achieve their goals. For the past decade, I've worked as a realtor in town for the Barbara Mulaney team, which has given me a front row seat to the realities of our local housing market, from affordability to availability, and the real impact those challenges have on families trying to build their lives. The last election opened my eyes to how deeply local government affects our everyday lives. I have seen positive changes under this Republican majority, and I want to continue the momentum, to build on what is working, and to keep moving Long Beach forward for our residents, children, and grandchildren. If elected, my priorities will always be public safety, fiscal responsibility.
Thank you, Tracy. Roy, your opening statement, please.
3 minutes.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the Westholme Association, League of Women Voters, for sponsoring this forum, and the Long Beach Public Library for hosting it. And mostly, I'd like to thank all of you guys who came to the library on a wonderful evening. It's unusual to see this many people in the library. Anyway, my name is Roy Lester. I'm a current city councilman. I first moved here in 1952, attended Long Beach Catholic School and Long Beach High School, and ended up in law school in California. However, I came back every summer to lifeguard. And when it came time to raise my children, I made my permanent home here in Long Beach. I've always had a special love for Long Beach. I'm an ocean person and never wanted to live anywhere else. I first entered public service by running for the Board of Ed about 30 years ago. I subsequently served 5 terms, and as president was able to carry it through the destruction of Sandy with a minimal loss of class time. Working as a cohesive board, we managed not only to invest over $100 million improving our schools and playing fields, but also improved our credit rating to one of the best in the state. After my youngest child graduated, I became involved in city politics. Being a city councilman is not a spectator sport. It requires a lot of work, a lot of study, and the ability to say no, even in the face of a full room of adversaries. The truth is, you can't make hard decisions and keep everyone happy. Being a councilman is not about photo opportunities or winning a popularity contest. It's about digging deep into the things you're voting on, and realizing that every proposal has a motivation behind it, sometimes selfish, most times not. Over the years, the underlying rationale driving my decisions has never changed. A financially broke city can serve no one. To put it simply, I hate wasting public money. I've always hated wasting public money. I'm lucky and I do not have a party boss in Minneapolis telling me what to do or how to vote. I'm also lucky to have 3 children with very strong moral compasses who are glad to let me know if I stray too close to their lines. I have 2 more lines, but I'm going to give it that.
Okay, thank you, Roy. Lillian, your opening statement, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, the West End Neighbors Civic Association, and to everyone who came out tonight to be part of this important conversation. My name is Lillian Mosley, and I hope to be your next city councilwoman. I live in the East End with my husband Khalil of 32 years. I'm also the proud mother of 4 outstanding children and 1 very special granddaughter. By profession, I am an attorney. By background, I am the daughter of immigrants raised in a strict Catholic household where hard work, discipline, and integrity were the foundation of everything we did. My attitude has always remained the same: caring, but zero tolerance for those who undermine public trust. Historically, I am not a politician. Instead, I've always felt a responsibility to contribute to my community because I recognize how fortunate I have been in my own life. Not because I haven't experienced challenges, but because I have risen from those challenges. I am active in student mentoring programs, and I am committed to raising funds for local breast cancer organizations. I currently serve as the vice president of both the Nassau County Women's Bar Association and its foundation, and as the president-elect of the Puerto Rican Bar Association. I wish to publicly condemn today the recent revelations about the Young Republican Committee's racist, anti-Semitic, and hateful text message exchange. Such rhetoric is deeply disturbing, wholly unacceptable, and has no place in any community. Hate speech of any kind must never find its way into our public discourse or our city council. I remain dedicated to leading Long Beach with integrity, accountability, and purpose, where we can all thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. Michael?
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. Thank you to the Westholme and West End Associations. And thank you to the library for having us. My name is Mike Reinhardt. I am running for re-election on the City Council. I live in the Canals with my beautiful wife, Colleen, in case she's watching, and my daughter, 13 years old, my son, 14. My kids love this community, just like everybody here, and they take full advantage of everything that Long Beach has to offer. I'm mostly a daddy Uber, as I'm sure many of you people here. They are on Long Beach hockey teams, volleyball teams, junior lifeguards, Irish step dance with Hayden Kavanaugh. It's truly, it's an amazing community. Now, through all this, it gives me an opportunity to always meet and talk to a diverse group of people on the sidelines of many of these games. And it always comes to, you know, we love Long Beach, but it's expensive to live here. And we don't want to move out. We don't want the community to change. And that scared me. I want my kids to grow old here. And that was my original impetus to run for city council. It was my kids. I spent my career, 25 years working at Ralph Lauren. I was the vice president of product management and marketing. And it was my job to deliver data-driven strategies to create revenue and also manage a group of multilateral teams together, create a winning attitude, a winning culture. And I feel that these traits were transferable to the council. I'm very proud of the work we've done in the first 2 years on this council. You know, a 0% tax increase for the first time, under the tax cap the second year, first time in a decade. We raised over $5 million at the beach park for the first time in history, just by making some changes to create revenue without raising fees. We did it with the ice arena too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We're going to, again, I appreciate that. We're going to begin with our first question. Okay, and it's presented to okay. We'll start here. You started with Peggy, so now we'll move to George and continue along. Okay, George, it is estimated that parking meters and permits could generate millions in revenue each year and could stabilize or reduce residents' tax bills. Would you support parking meters to lower taxes?
Again, before I answer the question, I'd just like to put for the record, I also find the recent rhetoric of the young Republicans to be reprehensible. And the racist rhetoric was absolutely disgusting, and there is no place for that. So I just wanted that to be on the record. As far as the parking meters are concerned, yeah, sorry. As far as the parking meters are concerned, yes, I would absolutely welcome the study. I mean, for decades, the parking situation in the city has been abhorrent. There's never 100% fixed because we live on a very small barrier island. There's been a lot of new construction, a lot of extra cars in the city. But absolutely, a commission has to be formed to look at this closely. I know there's been some discussions recently in several different forums. I would welcome any and all solutions to parking, including an app, parking meters, designated spots, preferential parking, perhaps just a thought, for permanent residents as opposed to short-time renters. There's a variety of ways, but yes, this is a problem that's been going on for years. It's never really been fully addressed. I would do everything I've elected in my power to look closely at fixing the parking problem, and would be welcome to any and all suggestions, including parking meters.
Thank you, Tracy. Same question, I will read it to you. It is estimated that parking meters and permits could generate millions in revenue each year and could stabilize or reduce residents' tax bills. Would you support parking meters to lower taxes?
As we all know, parking has been a decades-long problem in the city, even from when I was little, and I grew up in the West End. This is not a one-size-fits-all problem. I do believe there should be different implementations for different neighborhoods. I know currently they have a parking group that's looking into studies and surveys, and this includes trials that can be implemented moving forward. When properties, and years ago, we did have some lots in the East End that we lost, and I would love to get those back because it's not even a measure of parking meters and permits and different things like that. It's parking capacity. If elected, I would go after getting some of those lots and different properties back so we can increase our parking limits. So there's many different solutions to the parking problem, and I do believe that it's neighborhood specific.
Okay, thank you. Lester, it is estimated that parking meters and permits could generate millions in revenue each year and could stabilize or reduce residents' tax bills. Would you support parking meters to lower taxes?
It depends how much they cost. One of the things we looked at when we were looking at parking meters is a fee of almost $4 an hour. Yes, parking meters could generate a lot of money at the expense of the residents. It's not fair. One of the interesting things that came out in this parking study that we have right now, which by the way is our 5th parking study, haven't things improved? And we're paying $80,000 of city money for it. One of the things that came out though that was interesting was the man who was in charge of it said, meters should not be used to generate money. Meters should be used to effectuate a parking plan. In other words, if you have a meter in front of a store, you know that that store is going to have a turnover. And turnover is the really big issue when it comes to parking. There are always, places where people go and they park for the entire day, and it basically stops everybody else from parking. So, when you're talking about meters, basically what you're doing is you're taking money from the residents. Now, I'm not saying meters work in a lot of places. You look at Rockville Center, people are used to them. But there's so many other things we could do right now before we start hitting the residents for more money. I don't think it's fair. I don't think that the people who live in Long Beach should now all of a sudden have an expense going up to like $4 an hour.
Thank you, Roy. Lillian, it is estimated that parking meters and permits could generate millions in revenue each year and could stabilize or reduce residents' tax bills. How would you support parking meters to lower taxes?
So yes, I would support a parking system that would serve the residents and businesses first. I would also ensure that competitive bids and affordable user-friendly technology is used. In fact, I think we should mirror Rockville Center parking meters into our community. It's working very well in Rockville Center. I'm there all the time. And so I think we should mirror its technology. I think we should also consider offering a validation program for shoppers and ensure that there's full transparency in the revenue use.
Okay, thank you, Lillian. Michael, it is estimated that parking meters and permits could generate millions in revenue each year and could stabilize or reduce residents' tax bills. Would you support parking meters to lower taxes?
So saying parking meters as a one size fits all is a bit like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. This has been a question, as many of the candidates said, that comes up time and time again. There is no one size fits all. Every neighborhood is unique to its own. The West End has their struggles, the East End, the center of town. So yes, there is a study going on now, and yes, there has been studies done before, but nothing ever comes from it until now. It's time for rubber to meet the road. So we're getting this study done. We also use grant money for this study as well. We are getting public input. We have a public parking commission formed. This is a major issue, and I want to work with the residents to come up with solutions. When the rubber meets the road is when we start a trial. It's not one day we're going to say, okay, this is the way we're going to park everywhere in Long Beach. No, that's not the way to do it. We need to be strategic. Let's pick one neighborhood. Let's try something. If it works, let's expand it. But you know what? It's probably going to be a different method in a different neighborhood. So I look forward to the challenge, and hopefully we can get something done this time.
Peggy, it is estimated that parking meters and permits could generate millions in revenue each year and could stabilize or reduce residents' tax billing. Would you support parking meters to lower taxes?
That is a unfortunate yes and no answer. And the reason being is because, just like most of them have said on this panel, there is no one size fit all. We do need to increase our revenue coming into town. And in the same token, we don't want to punish the residents who are also trying to get to the shops as well. There are issues when it comes down to the handicapped and disabled. There are issues regarding the loading of for the restaurants and the food and the drinking. There's the UPS. There's so many other variables there, and we're unfortunately not like Rockville Center or Lynbrook, where we have municipal lots where we can set aside for residential or employee parking. And unfortunately, sometimes Rockville Center has also lost a lot of clientele because of that, because it is hard to find parking there too. And because we're a smaller scale, we don't want to see that happen here. So I suggest that we find other ways, such as trying to dedicate some municipal lots for those visitors, try to create some trolleys for us to get back and forth so we can leave our cars at home, especially during the seasons where we don't want to move our vehicles, make more walkable and bikeable areas so that we have less cars traveling around and on our roads. Because unfortunately, we do have more cars here, more than just one per household now, so more than like 2 to 4. So we have to find a variable amount of ways to make this work for everyone, so we don't punish, but yet still we can bring some revenue.
Thank you, Peggy. I'm going to begin the next question with Tracy. How would you address Airbnb style rentals?
As a realtor, I do rentals every day. There's a process of vetting tenants and making a good fit for landlords. Airbnbs don't have people go on a website. I don't want to hurt any residents in Long Beach that use this as an additional income. But the problem is with Airbnbs, there's additional noise, there's additional parking, there's a transient community. If the city would want to make it legal, which is now, it is illegal to have an Airbnb in the city, I would want to have a registration and permit system that could generate some money for Long Beach, possibly neighborhood capped Airbnbs. But as of now, it is illegal in Long Beach, and I think that it should stay that way.
Thank you, Tracy. Roy, how would you address Airbnb style rentals?
First of all, I use Airbnb a lot when I travel, and I've always found it a really useful thing. They're not that cheap, but they're great. And you usually get a better place than if you stay at a hotel. I think it's very unfair that people in Long Beach that are living in big houses by themselves can't get some sort of income from that house. I know when my mom, after my dad died, when the kids moved out, she lived in a 5-bedroom house by herself. And not be able to get any income, she lived on Social Security, it just wasn't right. There are ways to do it. Now Tracy's right, there should be registration. But I disagree with her that Airbnb doesn't monitor these things. I know that every time I go to Airbnb, I get rated and I get to rate them. And people who take people on Airbnb, they can see their ratings and they know ahead of time what they're getting. And of course, you have to make it so that you can't have parties and people that are disturbing the neighborhood. But there are people who want to come and look at, and visit this town and go to the beach and maybe have a kid with them. And that's really good for them. And Airbnbs would be beneficial for the town and beneficial for the people that need the money. And it's one of those things that is so easy to solve. Yes, you do need registration. Yes, you do need rules, but why not have them?
Thank you, Roy. Lillian, how would you address Airbnb style rentals?
I would require an annual registration and safety compliance. I would,
No, you're done.
it's okay. I would also impose a modest occupancy tax to find new parking infrastructure. We should monitor through digital tracking and partnerships with these rental platforms and dedicate a portion of the revenues to tourism, marketing, and parking infrastructure. I think it's a necessary evil. We have to encourage annual registration with our community.
Thank you, Lillian. Michael, how would you address Airbnb style rentals?
So I am not against the person who has a large house in Long Beach, who uses an Airbnb to create some extra income for their family. I am strongly opposed to absentee landlords that use this as just a way to make money off of our town. They are buying up, wealthy investors are buying up housing, raising our housing costs here in Long Beach. We've heard some horror stories. I'm sure many people here in this room, in their neighborhood, with absentee landlords. Every weekend, there's 20 different people going into this house, creating parking, traffic, people you don't know walking through your streets. It needs to be regulated. And yes, I agree. For the legal Airbnbs that we hope to continue, we need a registration process. There needs to create revenue to the city. We want people visiting our city. Of course we do. We want people going to our restaurants, our bars, and shopping. But we also need to have some stricter guidelines and rules. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Peggy, how would you address Airbnb style rentals?
Well, clearly, if it's illegal, then that's an issue to begin with. So we can start with, if we're going to make it legal, then what's that process? If there's an insurance issue, if there's regulation, if there are permits that are needed. Obviously, we all know that for the most part, that a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck is not getting any cheaper. So clearly, people will need to supplement their income by having other people there. But again, it becomes a problem when you have a lack of decency to the neighborhood that you are renting out these either Airbnb or just renting it as a long-term lease to someone because you're trying to create this supplemental income. So instead of punishing, we need to find a way to say, well, what kind of insurances are necessary? How can we regulate? How can we be on top of it and make sure that things are not being abused? Make sure there's proper payments in place.
Thank you, Peggy. George, how would you address Airbnb style rentals?
Same question you've asked everybody else? It's always tough going last because it's kind of hard to be original, but I kind of agree with a lot of things that have been said. I'm not adamantly opposed to Airbnbs. However, I live on a block where I've seen it firsthand where there have been rentals where it's 3 or 4 days and there haven't been rules. There has been parties, there's been cars, there's been lack of respect for neighbors, and that's something that we absolutely have to keep control on if Airbnbs were to be allowed. There have to be guidelines, there have to be very strict rules. I totally agree with permits and fees involved. I mean, that's an income space. So just like a business in town that pays taxes, somebody making money, whether it's out of their own home or in a storefront, also deserves to pay taxes. So, it's gotta be regulated, and I strongly agree with what Mike said as well. Again, I've seen it firsthand on my block. Developers coming in for absentee homeowners, renting their homes out strictly for income without any regard for the people that live on the block. Is something that really irks me and irks a lot of people I know in this room. So yes, open to suggestions. Right now, it's against the law. And, it's certainly something that I would take a look at, but with very strict guidelines and fees involved.
Thank you. Okay, we will begin the next question with Roy. There is a concern about the builders who purchase properties and then try to force through their plans and often claim financial hardship if denied. What would you do to restrict builders to the currently zoned heights and zoned use of sites?
I'm sorry, there was a word I missed. What would you do?
What would you do to restrict builders to the currently zoned sites? I think it says, and zoned use of sites.
Well, unfortunately, we give variances like there can be. And when you have zoning, the zoning is to basically make it so that people stick with that. I mean, right now, things are gonna change on the ocean front because we're going to allow 14.5-story buildings there now because of the settlement. Not real happy about that, but it's going to spread. And then what happens is somebody comes in and they say, well, my neighbor can do it, why can't I do it? And that just, that's no way to run a city. I went to college in Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara had one of the strictest zoning rules, zoning board in the nation. And they kept that city so beautiful and they didn't allow any of this. But as soon as you start violating the zoning laws by giving variances, you're starting to lose. Then once you have variances, then the zoning really doesn't mean anything. You have to enforce it. That's the biggest problem we have here. You have to enforce something. If you put a rule down, if you say you can't go over a certain height, then you enforce it. Unfortunately, now what we do is we allow heights to go bigger if they give a community benefit, which I think that basically destroys the whole idea of zoning, because now you're basically selling the right to violate a zoning rule.
Thank you, Roy. Lillian, there is concern about the builders who purchase property and then try to force through their plans and often claim financial hardships if denied. What would you do to restrict builders to the currently zoned heights and zoned use of sites?
And similar to Roy, I would enforce zoning laws fairly and consistently, no special favors. We need to support smart growth that aligns with our community character and our infrastructure. We don't want to overburden our community. We already have overburdened infrastructure through underground pipes, water, sewage, and the water sewage system. So ensuring that there's proper parking, schools, water systems that keep in pace with the new housing. We have to protect our unique small town feel of Long Beach, and no special favors is my bottom line.
Okay, thank you, Lillian. Michael, there is a concern about the builders who purchase properties and then try to force through their plans and often claim financial hardship if denied. What would you do to restrict builders to the currently zoned heights and zoned use of sites?
I mean, let's face it, developers have taken advantage of Long Beach for years. You can see it as these monstrosities go up on the boardwalk. For the first time in Long Beach's history, this year we created a planning board. And that planning board was developed to ensure that developers don't take advantage of the city anymore. Of course, zoning needs to be enforced. That will continue. And we need to be a little stricter on that, absolutely. But the planning board, we're very proud of the planning board, because for a city of this size, not to have that, because the developers knew how to work the system. keep going back to the zoning board until maybe the zoning board changes or go back in another year. No, we have a planning board now, and that's gonna help curtail this overdevelopment.
Thank you, Michael. Peggy, there is a concern about the builders who purchase properties and then try to force through their plans and often claim financial hardship if denied. What would you do to restrict builders to the currently zoned heights and zoned use of sites?
Where's the mafia when you need them, right? Just had to like them a little bit, I'm sorry. Okay, so at the end of the day, I just feel like, you know, there's terms, there's conditions, there's things you can put in the paperwork. It's like, you know, you pull them to the nail to what's written. And, you know, I don't understand the purpose of being able to go into an agreement with someone and not have all the information that you need, all the rights and all the things that are going to be denied, what is agreed upon, and then you sign it on the dotted line, and that should be something that you can hold up in any court. We don't need a lawsuit. We don't need a hold up in property where people are just sitting on it and it becomes this vacancy that makes the town look poor, for that site of not being built upon the way it should be. And we don't want it to sit there for a long period of time while they're waiting for somebody to go along and agree with what they're saying. And again, like my colleagues are saying as well, I mean, we do have to be very mindful of what you will turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to regarding one situation to create a problem down the line. So hopefully we can stay strong and stay committed to staying online with what our terms and our conditions are for our zone.
Thank you, Peggy. George, there is a concern about builders who purchase properties and then try to force through their plans and often claim financial hardship if denied. What would you do to restrict builders to the currently zoned heights and zone use of sites?
Pretty much a lot of the same things that everybody said. It's kind of nice to see both parties kind of on the same page with this one. I think everybody agrees that there's way too much overdevelopment. I am thrilled also to see that the planning board is now in place. I can't believe there was ever one here before. You know, from a personal level, when I moved back after Sandy, I had to jump through hoops just to get back home. This wasn't my second home. This wasn't my summer home. This wasn't my rental home. This was my home. This is where I live. I don't have a summer home anywhere else. So then to see 2 years later, when people were just doing whatever they wanted, it really bothered me. It's really one of the reasons, there's a lot of reasons I'm running for city council, but one of the main reasons that I started getting involved. And I said, rather than bitch about it, let me join the city council and make an impact. So absolutely, I think developers need to pay more money, first of all, than a regular homeowner. And there needs to be very strict guidelines. There is a zoning law for a reason, and that's to keep our city looking great and operating great and less cars off the block and all the other things go with it. But I agree with a lot of things that have been said already.
Okay, thank you, George. Tracy, there's a concern about builders who purchase properties and then try to force through their plans and often claim financial hardship if denied. What would you do to restrict builders to the currently zoned heights and zoned use of sites?
I do think the planning board is a pivotal step forward into builders' developments, impact on the community, because they can't go forward without approval from the planning board. Once you get to the zoning board, like Mike said, and like some of my other colleagues said, it should be a cut and dry solutions. You can't keep reapplying for the same thing over and over again. So I think the planning board is going to be an integral part moving forward with builders developing in our community. Because in order for them to move forward, they have to adhere to our zoning laws and variances and rules. So I'm excited to move forward with the planning board.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Lillian, you'll begin the next question. What is your position on the offshore wind farms off the coast of Long Beach?
So residents have made it crystal clear regarding their concerns about disruption, views, and quality of life. I support clean energy, but not at the expense of our community. I would advocate that wind farm transmission lines and infrastructure be routed through industrial or commercial zones, not residential coastal communities like Long Beach. And I want to thank John Bendo for taking the initiative to prevent lithium battery sites from coming into Long Beach. The bottom line is that Long Beach residents must leave this conversation.
Lillian. Michael, what is your position on the offshore wind farms of the coast of Long Beach?
Of course, I'm in favor of sustainable energy and growth, but wind farms, wind turbines off our coasts, I am not in favor of it. Especially cables running through our city, no way, can't happen. You know, it really scared the hell out of me what happened at Martha's Vineyard last summer. Just one of those turbines went into the ocean, the size of a football field. It shut down Martha's Vineyard for about a month. Imagine if that would happen to us. That's what keeps me up at night right now. And as Lillian mentioned, best systems are no place anywhere near Long Beach. Fire departments can't, if one of these catches fire, they can't put them out. They wait till it burns out and then the metals come up into the air. It's not a good situation. It just doesn't work for a barrier island. Salt water in the air, it's not gonna work. So yes, I think it's clear. I'm against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Peggy, what is your position on the offshore wind farms off the coast of Long Beach?
Well, I believe that anyone would want to have good, clean energy, but it doesn't seem like that's the case when it comes down to the wind farm. I mean, aside from the wind farm being out in the ocean quite a distance where it won't necessarily be a visible issue, the fact that it has to run through our town to get to Island Park for their storage of the lithium batteries, just the idea, once again, like the college is saying, that if it's burning, it stays burning until it burns out. And just I can't imagine what that will put into the air, just even having a fire in New Jersey or some other area where we experienced some orange sky where we were staying inside and trying not to breathe it in and not knowing what to do regarding that situation. So I don't agree with using our city as a backyard to just kind of run through without there being any benefit for that energy that we're talking about. So if it's going to benefit those other boroughs, if it's meant to run through any area, it should not be residential. And we should have a say in what's happening to our area. Who's going to take care of the maintenance, the repair, if they happen to push us down our throats? Who's going to take care of the fact if there is a burn of those lithium batteries? What is the aftermath of that? So we need to consider all these things.
Okay, thank you, Peggy. George, what is your position on the offshore wind farms off the coast of Long Beach?
I hate everything about it. I'm all for clean energy as well, but I think this was shoved down our throats, before this current administration, and it should have never got this far. It's unhealthy for our residents. It's an inconvenience. It ruins the quality of life. People that put this forward, I don't see cables running through their neighborhoods or windmills down across the street from them. So I think it's absolutely, I'm opposed. I think that's quite clear. Should have never gone this far. I will do everything in my power to make sure that Ecuador never reaches our shores.
Thank you, George. Tracy, what is your position on the offshore wind farms off the coast of Long Beach?
I'm deeply concerned about cables running through our residential areas and neighborhoods. I'm afraid for our safety and I'm afraid for what is to happen in the future without further studies being done. I don't think the battery energy storage systems should be in residential communities whatsoever for the danger and possibility of fires. They're harmful to health and safety. So I agree with most of the panel. I do support renewable energy and sustainability, however, but we must do it in a respectful way.
Thank you, Tracy. Roy, what is your position on the offshore wind farms off the coast of Long Beach?
So you're just asking about the wind farms, right? You're not asking about lithium batteries.
There's only wind farms.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. I've been consistent about my position on the wind farms from day one. I was the first city councilman to object to the wires going through the town. I actually I refused to sign a request to the governor. And it's no place to have those kind of wires running through town. As far as windmills go, there are windmills all over the world that are very efficient, that work. And it works in so many different countries and so many different places. There's no reason it can't work here. Now, the idea of putting them in your backyard, as George said, no. that doesn't make sense. Although, if you go to Holland, if you go to the Netherlands, or if you go to Spain or Portugal, you'll see them all over the place. But we do have to do something about renewable energy. Right now, things are getting more and more electric, and we don't have enough power coming in. And so what we're doing is we're burning the fossil fuels and creating a real problem for people's health and for our environment. And to try to say, well, I don't want to see something 15 miles away, when the truth of the matter is you're really not going to be able to see it. And it's going to give you clean energy, doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you, Roy. The next question we will begin with Michael. What is your vision for the bayfront between the Long Beach Bridge and National Boulevard, since the sewage treatment plant will no longer be in operation once Bay Park will treat all sewage from Long Beach?
Now, this is exciting. This is something you want to be on the city council for. So our city manager has gone out and started to collect RFIPs for potential development. And this is going to come to a head very soon. And we are going to bring the public in, and we are going to get everybody's feedback. Let's think about when the conveyance project is done, how much cleaner that bay is going to be. We need access to that bay. How about a marina? That sounds nice, considering that we can't get to the bay in Long Beach. But again, it needs to be smart development. Developers have taken advantage of Long Beach too much. It's, yes, you can develop here, but what can you do for us? That's got to be one of the first questions we ask. Smart development, something that all the residents are going to benefit from, and more importantly, just as importantly, generating revenue for the city to keep our taxes down. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Peggy, what is your vision for the bayfront between the Long Beach Bridge and National Boulevard, since the sewage treatment plant will no longer be in operation once Bay Park will treat all sewage from Long Beach?
There are a lot of ideas that a lot of people have and have been sharing, and yes, a marina sounds nice, and it sounds like it would definitely bring in revenue, bring in people off of the bay side. Whatever it is that we try to plan to do, we want to always consider the structure on which we're building on. We want to consider the air quality, the water quality. We want to consider who is coming in, how they're coming in, what they're using. We want to consider whether or not we are owning it and we are then operating it ourselves. We begin doing great jobs inside of our town and keep the money here as well. Once you start building and you start creating more spaces, that may seem all well, but if it leaves Long Beach, then it takes the money with it. So hopefully we can build things that we can hopefully grow our community with. We can create some youth workshop to workforce programs, some workshops for our union. We can create some spaces that people can find some employment that they would need, because everybody is struggling with pivoting into another position, and hopefully keeping money here in town. So.
Thank you, Peggy. George, what is your vision for the bayfront between Long Beach Bridge and National Boulevard, since the sewage treatment plant will no longer be in operation once Bay Park will treat all sewage from Long Beach?
Could I just use Mike's answer? I mean, Mike really hit it on the head. It's one of the most exciting things I've heard about in Long Beach since I've been here over 20 years ago. It's going to create revenue. It's going to create beauty. It's going to create tourism. It's going to bring in jobs. And it's just the most exciting thing. It's one of the things that I hopefully, when I go to the city council, I can't wait to tackle. Listen to ideas from people, listen to ideas from companies. Obviously, there has to be an open RFP system. But there's really not much more that can be said than what it already has been, that this is just a very, very exciting time for Long Beach. I think it's going to come to fruition. It's been talked about for years. It's finally on the cusp, and I can't wait to see it happen.
Thank you, George. Tracy, what is your vision for the bayfront between the Long Beach Bridge and National Boulevard, since the sewage treatment plant will no longer be in operation once Bay Park will treat all sewage from Long Beach?
We're on the cusp of really great things happening in this area. For years, it was a very little more than talk. I know there's proposals in with the city manager that will hopefully soon come to the public for public discussion and open forum. We do have a planning board that will vet developers, so the city can take advantage of something great coming to Long Beach. It will increase revenue for the city, it will increase jobs, it'll increase the beauty of our city, it will increase tourism, and I'm thrilled to get started working on this project, and I'm very excited.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Roy, what is your vision for the bayfront between Long Beach Bridge and National Boulevard, since the sewage treatment plant will no longer be in operation once Bay Park will treat most sewage from Long Beach?
Well, first of all, the idea of a marina is great, but unfortunately, marinas don't make money. Repair of boats make money, but the marinas themselves, I'm a bankruptcy attorney, can't tell you how many marinas I put out of business. And we used to have a marina in town, at the West End, and that went out of business because they're not profitable. The only marinas we have on the South Shore are the ones that government runs. Now, if it runs it and we don't look to make money on the marina, but just as a benefit to the people, that's a great idea. But let's be honest, can we afford it? I hope we can. But for my vision for that area, first of all, there's going to be development, and the development has to be limited. Now, one of the original plans, when we talked about that land, was 7-story buildings. That never went very far. That was the 2018, I think, comprehensive plan that we had. Now, what Island Park has done is they've made incredible strides with small buildings there. But what I really, you can see them right across the bay, but what I'd really like to see, because I see the 32nd room, it's a real recreation center, a 50-meter pool. One of the things like something like Eisenhower that could put this city on the map. We already have people, private industry that'll come in. We have the students, we have LIAC that would love to be a part of that, but I'm out.
Thank you, Roy.
So much for the dream.
Thank you. Lillian, what is your vision for the bayfront between the Long Beach Bridge and National Boulevard, since the sewage treatment plant will no longer be in operation once Bay Park will treat all sewage from Long Beach?
So originally it was to build a marina. But since Roy says no, just kidding. It's time to generate real revenue for the city. I do believe in expanding the tax base throughout the bayfront area through a marina, small retail shops, and those efforts will boost tourism. I think it's a fantastic idea to continue on that expansion, including the rec center. That would be fantastic. But I think that we can come up with plenty of ideas on how to generate revenue in that area. Whatever works for our community, but take advantage, no stops.
Thank you, Lillian. The next question will begin with Peggy. Water bills have skyrocketed despite extraordinary efforts by residents to keep them low. This strains the pockets of taxpayers. How do you plan to hold the line on very high water bills?
I spoke to a lot of my clients, a lot of my neighbors, some of my friends, and when speaking to people, usually the homeowners will say that their water bill has gone up, and the renters, like myself, will say, well, I don't see it. And the truth of the matter is that it's included in your utility bill. You won't see the hike in your water bill. But what you have to understand is that when you are listening to and hearing others talk about their increase, whether it hits you directly or indirectly, which it will, because trust me, if your landlord gets the water bill and it's a lot and they're losing a profit, then your rent goes up because of that increase of that water bill. So hopefully we can be a little bit smart about how we are using our water, maybe using our water in a way where we're using timeframes to utilize our water. Hopefully try to reach out to those companies and find out what's going on in regards to those meters that were put into place and how we can try to minimize those increases in the water tax bill.
Thank you, Peggy. George, water bills have skyrocketed despite extraordinary efforts by residents to keep them low. This strains the pockets of taxpayers. How do you plan to hold the line on very high water bills?
Well, nobody wants to see their water bill or any other bill go up, but fact of life, most bills do go up. I would rather have a higher water bill, quite frankly, and have lower taxes like our Republican majority has put in over the last couple of years. I'd rather have that way lower than a slightly higher water tax. With that being said, we've just recently installed a bunch of new meters that cost money. And a lot of those meters were not reading the water levels properly, which actually could have cost some homeowners paying higher water taxes than higher water bills than they probably should have. We've also instituted new pipelines. So again, a certain amount of money has to go into maintaining our water system, and obviously that's going to be passed on to the taxpayer. The good thing is, however, that the entire water bill goes towards our water system. None of that revenue that comes through the water bill is used for any other outlay within the city. So again, it's a concern. We should be looking at every bill, the water bill and our taxes and every other bill that every other taxpayer and resident has to pay. But that's my general answer on that.
Thank you, George. Tracy, water bills have skyrocketed despite extraordinary efforts by residents to keep them low. This drains the pockets of taxpayers. How do you plan to hold the line on very high water bills?
For years, our water bills were inaccurate because the meters were outdated, they were old, and they weren't reading correctly. Now with the new meters, we're ensuring that accurate readings so residents pay only for what they use. It's important to also note that by law, water revenues can only be used to fund clean water and system and incident, and not other city expenses. So when you might see an increase in some of the bills, it is because we have just revamped a lot of our water system. This investment keeps our water safe, our pipes maintained, and our systems up to date. And if a resident believes their bill is inaccurate, I encourage them to go and, fight that bill and look into what the discrepancies are.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Roy, water bills have skyrocketed despite extraordinary efforts by residents to keep them low. This drains the pockets of taxpayers. How do you plan to hold the line on very high water bills?
Well, George said it best. He said he'd rather have lower taxes and high water bills. That's exactly what happened. We're gonna hold the taxes to 0%, but we're gonna raise the water 42%. I mean, George, that might be your preference, but certainly not mine.
I'd rather hear a tax than a 42% hike. That's a big difference.
Have to remember, excuse me, we all agreed that this is the form, so we each have our time. Thank you so much. I'm going to add Roy to continue and finish.
Thank you. It is true that we put in the new meters. We put in the new meters because the old ones weren't reading accurately. Water meters run with a little rubber fan, and that rubber fan eventually fades and more water goes through that's actually being registered. But we knew when we put in the meters, we were putting them in so we would get a more accurate reading. We knew that the water readings were going to go up, and we knew that people would be charged more. So there's no reason at that point, since they're being charged more for the water, to raise the water 42%. It was something I was against. I voted against it both times. And, unfortunately, when it comes to taxes, once the taxes go up, they don't come back down. Water's not going to come back down. But if you look at our budget for water, in 2022, 5.4 million, 2023, 5.4 million, 2024, 5.4 million, 2025, first time, okay, 6.4 million, 2026, 7.1 million.
Thank you, Roy.
I guess.
Okay, Lillian. Water bills have skyrocketed despite extraordinary efforts by the residents to keep them low. This drains the pockets of taxpayers. How do you plan to hold the line on very high water bills?
I think transparency is really important. I had no idea that our water bill was going to be this high, up by 42%. Personally, my husband and I, we rent a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house in Long Beach, and the rents are already astronomical, as we know. Our water bill went from $300 once every 3 months to $846. I called the city and I asked them to please come. It's a mistake, gotta be a mistake, right? So they came, they checked our bathrooms, everything was in order. And so That was before the water meters. Now that the water meter has been installed in our home, which was about a couple of months ago, our bill is now $816 instead of the regular $300. So I'm deeply disturbed. I'm disturbed that 42% on tax water hikes was never explained to the residents of Long Beach. I think transparency is important. We each should be aware where our funds are going. Remember, this is an election year. Our taxes are not gonna go up on an election year, okay? Just remember that. Next year it will. So no promises.
Thank you, Lillian. Michael, water bills have skyrocketed despite extraordinary efforts by residents to keep them low. This drains the pockets of taxpayers. How do you plan to hold the line on very high water bills?
Obviously, nobody wants to raise rates. Nobody likes raised rates. The water department is a self-contained system, right? We can't take money that we charge in taxes for the water bill to go pave the road. It's paying for the water department. And this year, we've had a lot of infrastructure. It's for clean drinking water. It's for pipes. It's for meter installation. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. In 2023, $1.2 million was actually taken out of the water fund. So water bills wouldn't go up. Okay, so also, and it depends on your gallons and your usage. Nobody likes an increase. But when you factor in the sewer reduction cost, the median average household increase is about $18.95. It's still an increase. Nobody wants it. But we need fresh drinking water, we need clean drinking water, and we need new pipes. And that's just the reality of it.
Thank you, Michael. The next question, we will begin with George. This will be our final question before our closing statements. What is your vision for the next year for Long Beach?
My vision is the same vision I've had since I got here. A better city for all of the residents that live here. A better vision for our children. Our children, not the ocean, are our number one asset. And we have to invest in things to do for our kids so that they grow up to be productive citizens, that they have places to play and use their recreational time in a positive manner. That's my number one concern about Long Beach, is making sure that our youth are taken care of and have a lot of activities to do so they do grow up and get to be great citizens. And I just want to see this city move forward. As I mentioned before, it's a city I absolutely love. And I think it could be more beautiful. I think we need a beautification committee. I think we need, again, we need to keep the city safe. We need a better quality of life. We need to keep our taxes low. All of those things to me are moving in the right direction. I want to join the city council and use my skills and my passion and my knowledge and my ideas to keep the city moving forward and keeping this great city and making it even greater city than it currently is.
Thank you, George. Tracy, what is your vision for the next year for Long Beach?
As a lifelong resident, I feel compelled to run for city council so my children and their children can eventually live the life that I was lucky enough to live. My first priority is quality of life, just like George said, activity and community and camaraderie and a community holding each other together. Second would be safety. I want to feel safe moving about our community, let our kids ride on the boardwalk and go to the beach and have our jobs and live our lives. Fiscal responsibility is very important in this town. I would like to hold the city accountable for hold the line on taxes. And I just want a better Long Beach moving forward with the same Long Beach that I grew up with. And that's my hope.
And thank you, Tracy. Roy, what is your vision for the next year for Long Beach?
I don't want to say a vision for just 1 year, because a vision for just 1 year is not really realistic. You have to have a vision long-term. And long-term, I'd love to see real bike paths for this city. I would love to see an affordable and easy to use public transportation system. I mean, think of it, we have a parking problem and nobody wants to take the bus. We have things that are available to us through Nassau County where we could have a app that tells us exactly when a bus is coming. Like they have in New York City with the subways, like they have in so many different places. But we've never put that into effect. All of our buses have GPS. When you order an Uber, you can see that. You can see when he's coming, you can see where he is. We should be able to do that with our buses. Our buses shouldn't be so expensive that kids can't take them. We should have bike lanes. We have more bikes per capita in this city than any place in New York State. And yet, look what we have as a bike lane, a place on Broadway where it hasn't been painted for years, where people put their garbage out, where trucks park in the bike lane. That's our main bike lane. We also have the boardwalk, but during the summer, if kids want to ride on the boardwalk, they're weaving in and out of people who don't understand, what a bike lane is. There goes my bike.
Lillian, what is your vision for the next year for Long Beach?
So I have lots of priorities, but my primary target would be a financially stable city hall, because that's going to work for all of us. I want to tighten the administration from making bad legal decisions that continues to cost us millions of dollars. We have a judgment currently for $19 million that I think the city will be paying for in about 2 years. So it's on appeal right now. So I think you guys need to be fully aware of who you put on the city council. I fully support our police, fire, and emergency services. I will continue to support them. Address noise, illegal housing, and overcrowded bars. Invest in our youth and our mental health programs to reduce crime in the long term. Strong safety means a stronger, more vibrant local economy. The Mount Sinai building is in disrepair. Expanding a hospital/nursing home/mental health offices needs to be done for the city of Long Beach. And it is possible to build in that building of disrepair, because if you look across the waterway, there are apartments being built in Island Park. So safety is not an issue. We can make it happen.
Thank you, Lillian. Michael, what is your vision for the next year for Long Beach?
I thought George was gonna break into a little Whitney Houston there with the future is with our children. And yes, I agree. Protect our quality of life. And like I mentioned in the beginning, I ran for city council for my kids. And I want Long Beach to remain like we love Long Beach. I don't want to see Long Beach become a second Queens or Brooklyn. I want Long Beach to stay Long Beach. So how do we do that? We need to make it less expensive to live here. We need to continue to hold the line on taxes. And how do we do that? If we hold the line on taxes, well, guess what? We got to generate revenue, right? So this past year, first year implemented, we changed the beach pass system. You have to scan. We don't raise the rates. We put adults to help assist our children, our teens that are working the booths. Guess what? We made over $5 million this summer. That's $800,000 more than we did the previous summer. That's a big deal. That's how we keep taxes down. We utilize our underutilized assets. Even with, I mentioned briefly the ice rink. We revitalized the ice rink. We had this gem that we ignored for decades. In 2023, it lost $65,000. In 2025, we're gonna make over $150,000. That's how you do it. You gotta generate revenue to keep the taxes down. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Peggy, what is your vision for the next year for Long Beach?
To live, to learn how to be happy again, to have discussions with adults like there are here in this room. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of youth in here. There are some, which I'm grateful to see. But I want everyone to consider to step outside themselves and think about the community as a whole. It's not about where we are now. I'm 55, but I remember growing up here. I remember going roller skating, riding my bike. I remember being able to go out and have a ice cream or a slice of pizza and watch a movie and not have to like dig deep in my pockets and not be able to do it only once a month because it's so expensive. I want us to learn how to talk to each other again without, invoking fear or anger. It's not necessary to be polarized. Yes, you can have a difference of opinion. You have a different perspective, but we can respect the differences with decency. Yes, there's a lot of things that need to get done in Long Beach. And, I can say, oh, safety, and I would love affordability, and I would love for all that stuff to be great. That takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of things structurally to be put in place and to continue. But we have to come together to continue. If we're not coming together to have these conversations, we're not coming together to make sure that these things are taking place. I'm just like you. I was sitting in that seat too. And so I'm just happy to be standing here right now, or sitting here at this moment. But we're all in this together. If we don't do it together, it's not gonna get done. We have to stop criticizing, stop condemning, and start working together.
Thank you, Vicky. Okay, before we take closing statements, I'd like to thank the candidates for the participation this evening and for sharing their views. It is wonderful to hear, so many people have the opportunity to hear you tonight. I would also like to thank the Westholme Walks Civic Association and the Long Beach Public Library for co-sponsoring this event. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge the audience for their attention, for their attendance, and for their contribution to the question. Democracy is not a spectator sport, I heard earlier, which is true. Democracy is best served by an educated populace. Your attendance tonight is evidence of your active civic engagement, and it is wonderful to see. Very much thank you. It is also not too late to register to vote. I would call or go to the website for the Nassau County Board of Election. Right? They have voter registration outside, that's even better. Okay. But you can do it online as well. All right, so now we're going to have our closing statements. We're going to do reverse order from how we began. I'm going to ask Michael to open the floor.
Thank you, Ann. And Ann, you did a very nice job tonight. We appreciate it. This election is about Long Beach and the community we love. This community is special. No other community rallies together like Long Beach. Think about it. Think about the Michelle O'Neill tournament, polar bear plunges, G2H Foundation at the rink. When our residents are in need and there's a cause and people are looking for help, can you think of any place in the world that is like Long Beach? I can't. I play in every Michelle O'Neill volleyball tournament. I'm declining a little bit, but never once has there been an argument in a tournament on an in or out call because somebody was a Democrat or a Republican. We're all in this together. We all freeze our butts off at the polar bear plunge together. It doesn't matter what party you're in. I'm very proud to have the support in this coming election of the CSEA, the commanding officers, the PBA, and the UFA. This happens when we work together and establish a culture, a winning culture, the we, not me mentality. Our city workers are our neighbors, our families, our friends. When we all work together, we build a city that works for everyone. I want to continue the momentum that has been started and look forward to the opportunity to continue to work for our residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Lillian, your closing statement, please.
So thank you again to the League of Women Voters and the West End Neighbors Civic Association and to tonight's audience. This forum is a reminder that democracy begins right here at home. In rooms like this where neighbors come together to decide what kind of community we want to be. I am running for Long Beach City Council because Long Beach deserves leadership that is transparent, ethical, and focused on solutions, not politics. I bring the perspective of an attorney, a business owner, and community advocate with the experience to solve problems, manage resources responsibly, and stand up for people who deserve a voice in City Hall. I am proud to have earned the endorsements of Eleanor's Legacy and the Laborers International Union of North America. These are organizations that believe in leadership, rooted in integrity and progress. I will always stand for working families, protect union values, and make decisions based on what's best for the residents of Long Beach, not special interests, and especially not political affiliations. My commitment is simple, to lead with honesty and accountability. I'll make sure our tax dollars are spent wisely, that decisions serve the community, and that every resident has a voice in shaping our city's future. This election is about trust, priorities, and the future of Long Beach. Together, we can build a city that works for everyone, one that's fair, financially sound, and community-driven.
Thank you, Lillian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. Roy, your closing statement, please.
When the three of us decided to run, we looked at what was the biggest problems. We looked at affordability, quality of life, and overdevelopment. Affordability is a really big thing these days, not just in the city, but nationwide. People going to grocery stores and having to make choices of what they're going to get to feed their kids and if there's going to be enough money there. Food prices have skyrocketed. Everybody knows that. Yesterday, the thing was price of a car, $50,000 for a new car, a new record. We have to make things more affordable for people, and locally, the only way we can do that is stop spending money. You know, if you look at what we do over the last 2 years, just the cost of running our government has gone up $9 million. Where do you think that money's coming from? Right out of your pocket. You know, there are things that we should be fighting, things that we should be doing to make this place more affordable. You know, we haven't challenged the tax certiorari for 15 years, not one in 15 years. That money, when we pay those tax certiorari's, comes out of your pocket. Quality of life. Do you know how many people are kept awake by bars in the West End that they can't sleep because the music is so loud? That's quality of life. That's not fair to those people. Well,
Thank you, Roy.
I could go on and on.
Tracy, your closing statement, please.
Thank you again to the League of Women's Voters, the West End, and the Westholme Civic Association, fellow candidates, everyone here for caring about the future of our city. I've been so fortunate to grow up here in Long Beach and raise my children, surrounded by everything that makes this community so special. From our beautiful beaches and boardwalk to our local restaurants and bars, small businesses, youth programs, and community groups. Long Beach has always been a place where neighbors look out for one another. These experiences have given me a deep understanding of our city and have prepared me to take action on the challenges we face today. My goal is to continue moving Long Beach forward through sound judgment, collaboration, and transparency. My top priorities will always be protecting the quality of life, maintaining fiscal responsibility, keeping taxes stable, and ensuring public safety to every resident. I stand here tonight asking for your vote because I'm committed, experienced, and deeply invested in the success of this city. I'm not just a candidate, I'm your neighbor, I'm your voice, someone who's lived, worked, and raised a family here, who knows our struggles, believes our potential, and is ready to work with Long Beach every single day. Together, we can keep Long Beach moving forward with pride in where we come from and confidence in where we are going.
Thank you, Tracy. George, your closing statement, please.
Yes, thank you, Ann, for moderating. I want to thank everybody in the audience. I want to thank the League of Women Voters, the Westholme Civic Association, the West End Neighbors. I'd also like to thank my opponents. We had a very lively discussion, and no matter what happens in November, win or lose, and hopefully it's win for me and my team, but no matter what, I hope we can all come together and work to make Long Beach this great city, an even greater city, do the very best we can to keep it moving forward. So citizens of Long Beach, I ask you to vote for me for these reasons. I've been an active part of this community, not just since deciding to run for office, but for over 20 years. I've been committed to the betterment of the city since arriving here, and I've been committed to running for city council for over a year, not just the past few months. As discussed, I have a proven track record of marketing, business, organizational leadership skills, all skills which are vital in running a city. I have a great work ethic, I have common sense, I have vision, and I have more energy than a lot of people have my age. And yes, with age does come wisdom. I am a fair and open-minded person who's dedicated to making this city better for all of our residents
I look forward to hearing from every one of them and every one of you. I humbly ask for your vote this election, and I promise I will devote my heart and soul to make this great city even greater and the lives of our citizens the best they could ever be. Thank you so very much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
night.
Thank you, George. Peggy, your closing statement, please.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody being here, the League of Women Voters, of course, the Westholme Civic Department. I appreciate the opportunity to be here to speak to everybody. I'm not really a person who would say I'm trying to earn anyone's vote. I don't make promises, but I will tell you that I'm not one to have a selfish agenda. That's not something that I am leading with. What I'm leading with is community. I'm trying to bring the community together so we can heal together, so we can grow together, and so we can be sustainable. A lot of people have these similar issues that you've heard here tonight, all these questions and all these concerns. You're looking for the proper keyword and the right rhetoric that is going to be said tonight to make your decisions. I hope that your decisions are made not off of emotions, not off of just a blind loyalty, but with you thinking about coming to the table and having these conversations all the time. If you would show up at the city hall meetings, whether I get a seat or anybody else get a seat here, it's bigger than the seat. It's about us coming together as a community to grow, to earn, and to become sustainable. Sustainable with regards to income, revenue, without it being a pressure for the taxpayers of all of us here. And hopefully we can learn how to respect the differences and come together to make that happen. Be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Thank you, Peggy. This concludes our event. Please remember to vote on Tuesday, November the 4th, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And they have well earned it. Please give them a round of applause.